Good morning, everyone. Christian Duque, MD Noble, weekly episode 17, brought to you courtesy of IronMagLabs.com, your go-to source for all your bodybuilding and fitness supplements. Today is Wednesday, October the 11th. It's actually Wednesday, October the 11th. I had oral surgery yesterday, and I want to give kudos to my friend Jordan Bleckman, who's my producer, because he's going to get this video today, edit it, process it, and finalize it all the same day. So I really want to send kudos to him. Now today we have a packed show, and the first thing I have to talk about is Lui Marco at the IFBB Kuwait Pro. Badr Budai is like literally on the cutting edge. He's a pioneer in bodybuilding in the sense that he's got a gym that everybody in the world wants to train at. He's working with the most cutting edge athletes from Big Ramy to Ashkenani. And now he's got the most popular YouTuber in the world at one of his shows. How many shows has Lui done? None. This is the first. And I was really impressed with him. I mean, you know, it's one thing to make videos on a webcam. You have all this editing software. You know, you never fail, basically. It's like modern day music with Pro Tools. You never make a mistake in the studio. But when you're live, you know, when you're interacting with Tim Gardner, you're interacting with Badr, you're interacting with Big Ramy, you're talking from one car to the next as Ashkenani's driving in a Lamborghini on the highway. You can't mess up, and he didn't. He did a really good job, even though he's got me blocked on Instagram and blocked on Twitter, because Lui, much like Phil Heath, cannot take any constructive criticism, but then again, who am I to talk, right? The point is, he did a great job. And Badr really strategically played this perfectly, because Lui now, even if he recorded by all the promoters, probably will not go, because he's got to keep that demand high. He is a YouTuber. He is a social media superstar. He cannot become the next Bob Cicherillo. You will not see him emceeing competitions. He cannot become a fixture backstage. This was a one-time deal, and maybe the only one-time deal for the foreseeable future, because he needs to keep that demand high, and he needs to shut up the critics like Phil Heath, who basically say, Lui, you don't even go to shows. Well, guess what? He just did. So again, Badr, you know, I got to tip my hat to you. Great job. Now, Big Ramy reconfirms at the Kuwait Pro. Oh, I can't talk about Big Ramy yet. Hadi Choopan. Everybody's talking about Hadi Choopan. He was not able to get a visa. The Iranian bodybuilder who everyone's talking about, in contention to be the next 212 Mr. Olympia, who people like to say is blocky and dismiss him as a non-factor, when we all know that he is. He's definitely a factor. He's definitely a threat. Everyone's talking about this guy. And even though Ashkenani won and Jose Raymond looked great, Hadi not being there, you know, still raises questions. It's kind of like the Kai Green effect. The Kai Green effect is basically, well, he hasn't done 3 Mr. Olympias, yet you go all around the world, and Phil Heath has to answer questions about Kai Green. Even at the Mr. Olympia press conference, he had to answer a question about Kai Green. So the fact Hadi couldn't go doesn't necessarily change anything. If anything, it further pesters those that won and further pesters those that do not want to recognize that the fact the guy is a threat. Now, at that Kuwait Pro, Big Ramy reconfirmed that he would be doing the Arnold Classic in Columbus in 2018. I don't know that that is good for him in terms of his ambitions of being the next Mr. Olympia. Let's not forget 2001, Ronnie Coleman, at the height of his glory, almost lost the Olympia because he chose to do an Arnold Classic. You know, the Arnold Classic is basically just like another Mr. Olympia. It's a hair below it, but it's just basically the same thing. Huge credibility, huge history, huge payday. You can't go to Columbus off. You know what I mean? Now, I have to say, the last few years, I've been very disenfranchised with automatic qualifications at the Mr. Olympia. I think it does the fans a huge disservice. So I like the fact that top 5 Olympians are doing big shows, but they have to be big shows. Let's look at the EVLS Prague Pro. We saw a very, very off-the-mark Dexter Jackson and a very, very off-the-mark William Bonac. And, you know, automatic qualifications keep the best from competing around the world, but when they do, it's not so great either, because they're not going to go to the EVLS Prague Pro with the same, you know, stakes and the same seriousness as they would the Mr. Olympia for obvious reasons. The Arnold Classic is different. You're not going to go to the Arnold Classic looking like you would for, you know, a European tour date. You're going to go to the Arnold Classic because you want the big paycheck, you want the love, you want the bragging rights, you want to go down in history as one of the best. And you're also posing in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I believe Big Ramy is going to go and give it 100%. The question is, can he then peak again at 100% or 150% or whatever it is to topple Phil Heath, who will be going to tie Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman? And again, we have not seen Big Ramy peak at 100% yet, because if we had, he'd be Mr. Olympia. So, 2018, he'd have to not only do it once in Columbus, but he'd have to do it again in Las Vegas. It just doesn't seem like a good move for him as a bodybuilder, though it's a great move for us as fans, because we get to see, arguably the second best bodybuilder in the world in Columbus. Okay, now I'd like to talk about the IHFF Mind of Champions. Great seminar. It's going to be taking place October 13th in Mumbai, India. It has the original classic men's physique, Mr. Olympia, Danny Hester, your Prague champion, Ruli Winkler, the Maryland Muscle Machine, Kevin Levrone, the Predator, Kai Green, and Shredded Diesel. I mean, this is associated with Sheru Classic, which is a great event. And I got to tell you, India has proven itself as being a hotbed of bodybuilding. It's almost like the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. It's like that in Asia. I mean, it's absolutely insane how big bodybuilding is, and largely to the credit of Kai Green, who toured that country extensively, as well as Pakistan and China. Next, I want to talk about Chanel from Team 5%. She made a great video. She wants the fans to know that there is a ton of work featuring Rich Piana, various collaboration projects, various vlogs, training videos. They will be coming out, but they will not be coming out on Rich's official channel. They will be coming out on Team 5%'s official channel on YouTube. So be sure to check that out. There was just so much stuff Rich was working with, and it's almost analogous to when a musician passes. When Tupac passed, I remember there was music coming out, new music coming out, and not even like bits and pieces, dubbed together, but actual songs, awesome songs that were coming out for 3, 4, 5, 6 years after he passed. People were like, how's this guy putting out albums? He died, right? He's dead, right? You know what I mean? Nirvana, 20 years after Kurt passed, there was a song that was found, a great song. And it had Chris, and it had Dave, and it had Pat, and it had basically all of Nirvana was on it, and Kurt was on it with great vocals. It came out, it sold just a ton of records. And so the same thing with Rich. Rich, was someone that was always taping, always had someone, and was always doing collaboration, always had a project, from Super League to collabing with Mike O'Hearn. I was just thinking of the American Gladiators, and just a ton of people. And again, expo footage. I mean, just tons of stuff. So be on the lookout for that at the official Team 5% YouTube channel. Now, Cedric McMillan, your 2017 Arnold Classic champion, 10th place at the Mr. Olympia, has announced he will be doing the Ferrigno Legacy on November 18th. Now, there's some questions as to whether he's still working with Chris, the technician, Aceto. Aceto did talk about some athletes, did not talk about Cedric. Palumbo had asked him, are you almost done for the year? He did not mention the Ferrigno Legacy, so I don't know if they're still working together. I think there's also a post by Cedric on social media where he talks about going back to his original diet books and his original weight training books and seeing his notes. And it seems like Cedric is going to prep himself, which might not be such a bad idea, considering that he looked much better in Columbus than he did at the Mr. Olympia. And again, guys, I have to stress that, if you're going to be a contest prep guru at the level of working with a Cedric McMillan or a Sean Flexitron Roden, you need to devote 100% of your time to your athletes. You can't be out in the parking lot doing a handicap video. You can't be doing interviews with other competitors. You can't be doing play-by-play. You are there to prep those clients. You are there to monitor their physiques hour by hour in the hotel room. Because, especially when you have got the past year's Olympia runner-up and the current year's Arnold Classic champion, and the past year's Olympia runner-up gets 5th place as a gift. And I'm glad to see that history was done right with Ruli getting that qualification in Prague, because honestly, Ruli deserved that 5th place spot at the Mr. Olympia, not Flexitron. And when the 2017, the actual year's Arnold Classic champion, barely hangs in at the top 10, you're doing something wrong. Okay, you're doing something wrong. So again, I have no doubt that Aceto is a great prep guru, but he needs to focus on the task at hand, and everything else needs to take a back seat or just put that shit in the trunk. Okay, next I want to talk about the upcoming shows. We've got a lot of shows this weekend. We have the MPC Natural Northern USA in Cleveland, Ohio. I may go, I may not, I don't know. I've already told Dave that I'm not going to go, but Dave Lieberman to me is like God with a lowercase g. Dave and Gary Udit are both, I mean, so I don't know. I can't say I won't go definitively, but as of yet, I'm not going, but I may go. Dexter the Blade Jackson, 5-time Arnold Classic America champion, 9-time Arnold Classic International champion, 2008 Mr. Olympia, will be guest posing. And there's also going to be a meet and greet with Dana Lynn Bailey and Rob Bailey of Flag Nor Fail. You do not want to miss that. Over 100 booths, a push-pull competition, just all sorts of stuff happening in downtown Cleveland at the Cleveland Public Auditorium. Box office opens at 8 a.m. Get there. I'm telling you guys, this place fills up. It's insane. It's a beautiful venue right there in downtown Cleveland. Definitely check that out. Also, the 2017 Olympia Tan MPC Blue Ridge Classic at the Paramount Theater in Charlottesville, Virginia is also happening this weekend. For more information, log on to GaryUdit.com. Gary is the NPC Mid-Atlantic Zone Chairman, and anything that he's involved with is a first-class production. You do not want to miss that. Also, check out the NPC Central USA and IFBB Pro Bikini Championships. Jack and Antitone are putting that one on. For more information, log on to npcmidwest.com, and that's in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. One more show that I have to mention because my good friend Ariel Kadar, IFBB Fitness Pro, is competing. She is absolutely gorgeous, absolutely flawless physique-wise, and absolutely talented when it comes to aerobics, gymnastics. I mean, she flies. She's amazing. And she will be competing at Ed and Betty Pariso's 2017 Europa Games in Phoenix, so definitely check that out. Finally, there is a great posing clinic in Louisville, Kentucky for the upcoming 2017 NPC Kentucky Muscle, celebrated in Louisville. Fantastic event. Brent Jones does a great job each and every year, and that's going to be taking place this Sunday at Powerhouse Gym in Louisville, Middletown section. It's only $5, which is the gym fee, but the actual clinic is free. And Jimmy says they're going to be spending an hour and 15 minutes per class. I mean, guys, do not miss this, especially because there's just so many people that spend so much money, time, resources on a prep to get on stage and not win simply because they don't know how to present their physique. It's a crime. It really is a crime. And these posing clinics are invaluable. So again, especially if you're going to do the Kentucky Muscle, the Northern Kentucky, if you're going to do Gary's show out in Virginia, well, you can't do it now because the opposing clinic's the day after that. But you know what I'm saying? If you're going to do any shows in the region, or if you just happen to be in the Kentucky area, you would be very, very foolish to pass up the opportunity to get critiqued and get advice from Jimmy Hornbeck and IFB Pro Monica Hornbeck of Team Hornbeck at this phenomenal posing clinic this Sunday in Louisville, Powerhouse Gym. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next time, Christian Duque, MD Noble Weekly, brought to you courtesy of IronMagLabs.com.